Good afternoon from Geneva. I'm Afril again from the IFRC Asia Pacific Regional Office, the Regional Communications Manager. We have today Mugi, who is the Director of Disaster Management for Mongolian Red Cross, who's going to discuss with us some extreme winter condition happening in Mongolia almost every year now. Right now we are in Geneva, Switzerland, where the statutory meetings are taking place and it's getting really cold. But somewhere in this world, in Mongolia, it gets really, really cold at some point, especially during winter. Mugi, first, I think, can you quickly explain what Dzud is? Because it is an extreme condition and it's not very common.
Yes, so thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And so Dzud is a very unique term for Mongolia. I think it's very specific. It happens to the extreme winter situation, and also related to the drought during the summertime. So as you know, that climate change is Mongolia's most affected by the climate change. And due to the drought situation and also very cold winter situation, heavy snowfall, the herder families are affected during the Dzud disaster. This year, last winter, 2023 and 2024, there has been one of the major Dzud events happened since the decade, since 2009 and 2010 Dzud.
Okay, thank you for that, Mugi. And I remember when we launched the emergency appeal, right, last February, that there were many disturbing photos of dead animals, which of course the herders have usually worked so hard for. Mugi, can you walk us through in terms of the estimated number of livestock lost, and how does this compare to previous Dzud events? You mentioned that there's some extreme Dzud that happened at some point in 2009, 2010.
So Dzud mostly affects the herder communities, and most of the time the livestock is perished during the extreme winter situation. And of course, for the herder communities in Mongolia, the livestock is their main livelihood resources. So that's why it's very important for us to help the herder communities to protect their livestock during the winter period, winter season. Last winter of 2023 and 2024, almost 12.5% of the total livestock population of Mongolia perished, and it affected quite a lot of herder communities, especially in the eastern part of the country and in the southern part of the country. We have seen that almost 5,000 herder households losing more than 70% of their livestock, which is making it very difficult for these herder families to have different livelihood income resources. And also, if we compare this to the previous Dzud, in 2009 we have seen 21% of the livestock population being perished during the Dzud extreme winter situation, and it's almost like each decade we see the very high stake number of livestock being perished due to the Dzud situation.
Yeah, so it's becoming a pattern. And I would think that also the Mongolian Red Cross leading the response is, of course, using different approaches every time. Can you walk us through in terms of how the Red Cross is assisting those herders that you mentioned or who were primarily being affected by the Dzud?
So our main response activities include the provision of the unconditional cash grant to the herder families, and then also the animal care kits to support the health of the livestock. And also we do provide mental health and psychosocial support to both herders and then also the herder families' children. And the reason we have been shifting to the unconditional cash grant is it gives the herder families, the individuals themselves, to prioritize their own needs so that they can spend it on the whatever needs they may have. In some families, they may need to buy food and medicine for their own need, or in some cases, we often see the families also need to buy hay and fodder for their livestock to survive the long, cold winter season.
Okay. So obviously, this is a type of emergency that requires long-term strategies. But before we get to that, can you elaborate to us more in terms of how Mongolia Red Cross is coordinating with local authorities, the government of Mongolia, and to organize and improve our Dzud preparedness for herder communities in particular?
So, of course, as an auxiliary to the government of Mongolia, our roles and responsibilities related to the disaster preparedness, response, and recovery activities are stated in our law on the legal status, and then also the disaster protection law. And also, our Secretary General sits at the State Emergency Commission, which is the strategic body to make the decisions in relation to the emergency response activities. So it gives us more of an opportunity to be able to engage with the national authorities to coordinate our response efforts so that we don't duplicate our response activities. And also we have what we call State and Red Cross Cooperation Council, and it is also like similar at the local level where our local branches are working closely with their local authorities. So we are continuously exchanging information, receiving the updates on the on-ground situation, and prioritize our response activities where needed. Also, we work very closely with our humanitarian country team members to also coordinate our efforts to ensure that we are not duplicating our response or the assistance.
Very important to have a complementarity when it comes to approaches, especially with many actors are involved usually. It's also good to hear that the Red Cross has a lot of like early warning initiatives in place as part of the UNDRR framework, where we're leading the Pillar 4. Mugi, I think my last question for you is, can you walk us through, because it seems, and based on this conversation now, you've been mentioning that it's becoming a pattern, unfortunately, of course, the climate crisis having to do with the worsening condition every time. So what long-term strategies is the Mongolia Red Cross implementing to help herders build resilience against future Dzud events?
So currently, in relation to this year's winter situation, we have conducted a socioeconomic impact assessment together with the other UN agencies and IFRC. And based on this assessment, we are developing the long-term strategy or the resilience strategy in relation to the Dzud. And of course, it's very important, first of all, to involve the communities in the developing the long-term strategic plan. So we, continue hearing what they actually need and implement activities that is more related to their needs. And early warning is one of the important areas that we are also focusing more on. We are very much reactive in our response activities, but now we want to advocate for more proactive ways of doing community resilience building activities. And one also I would like to mention the anticipatory action activities. We have been advocating for both at the national level and working closely with other different agencies that are doing similar disaster preparedness and resilience work, so that we are more focused on the early warning and then early action rather than taking the action after there's some big major things happen where it's affecting the vulnerable families and having a much more bigger impact. And also, it's very difficult for the herder families to recover from once they are already affected, and it takes quite a long time, and then also lots of financial support is needed for those herder families to recover if they are deeply, greatly impacted. So we want to ensure that our early action and early warning activities are more proactive in a way that we are helping the herder communities. Of course, community level trainings is also very important. Continuous advocacy and training of the younger generation, especially related to the climate change, is also important.
Thank you very much, Mugi, for walking us through a very unique, extreme winter condition that happens in Mongolia almost every year now. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, and watch out for more engaging conversations that concerns the humanitarian issues globally. Thank you.